I don't know how you found us, but I'm glad you did. It's the If It's Sports Podcast, episode number 19. All right, this is Josh. I got my main man, Trav. I hope everyone had a great Christmas and a happy New Year. Trav, how was your holidays?
Oh, it was good, man. Just had a good time hanging out with the family. Ate some good food. Watched some good college football, bowl games, some NFL. So definitely a good holiday.
Excellent, man. Same here. Got to spend some good time with the family. Can't go wrong with that. Able to lounge around. Nice little break that we had. Able to get recharged.
Oh, yeah.
Ready to get back into this for 2018. We're looking for some big things for the podcast in 2018. Started off, we got a little blessing.
Yeah, I think we got blessed by Lil B the BasedGod.
Oh, man, we've got to be the first podcast to ever be blessed by the BasedGod.
I think we might be. So, he sent us out a blessing on Twitter there. So, hopefully that's going to lead to some blessings for us on the podcast, and we'll see what happens.
That's right. All I know is right now, wish he would bless his weather outside. Winter is in full effect.
Yeah, it's definitely cold out. I don't think there was 1 degree outside this morning when I left.
I mean, the only thing good news about it being winter like this is it means it's bowl season. So let's go ahead and get into that. Yeah, Trav. Bowl season is here, full effect. I'm going to be honest with you, though. I really couldn't get into bowl season until about Thursday on the 28th. The Stanford TCU game, it kind of caught my interest. It was a really good battle. Before that, though, I had a hard time sitting through a game. I caught a little bit here and there, but really there wasn't a game that captured my interest.
No, just with so many bowl games, it's hard to really, sit down and really get into them. A lot of meaningless bowl games, in my opinion.
Right now, are there too many bowl games?
Right now, I think there might be too many bowl games because, I remember back in the day when you could sit down and watch just about every bowl game. Nowadays, it's kind of hard to see all of them. A lot of people work during the day, this and that. So, they're showing a lot of these games at 1 o'clock, 1:30 during the day. So it's kind of hard to catch all of them. But, it used to be good back in the day when you can, when there was 5 or 6, 7 good bowl games and you could see them all on a Friday, Saturday, and, Sunday there and just, watch all of them.
Yeah, it's almost like college football. They dilute the game just a little bit too much during the bowl season here. It'd be a good time to maybe shut it down for a couple of these teams. Not so many of these teams. Just because you get 6 wins doesn't mean that you should be playing in the bowl season. I'd like them to do away with a few of them. Maybe right around Christmas time. Maybe a couple bowl games right before Christmas. But when we've got bowl games going on the 19th and the 20th of December, and nobody's really playing in those, I'm just not interested in them at all.
No, and I think it's came down to, I believe money a lot's involved, obviously.
Big time,
so,
big time.
Just trying to get a lot of these other smaller schools paid. So I can understand that, but still it's just a lot of games, a lot of bowl games. And like you said, I think it's just diluting everything. A lot of people are losing interest in some of these no-name bowls, not to, discredit any of them or any of the teams that played in any of those games, but just getting a little out of hand with all these bowl games. So, like you said, 6 wins. Not quite sure if that should get you in one.
No. Now, that TCU game in Stanford, we did see a close game there. TCU ended up winning that one. Bryce Love, big game from him.
Big game out of Bryce Love. So, I think he finished up with 145 yards. Nice ending to what could be the end of his career. Not quite sure if he's going to declare for the draft or not yet.
Yeah, I think he's got a big decision. He's a junior, so he could come back. He seems like a really smart kid with some of the profiles I've seen on him. He wants to be a doctor one day, so does he come back and go ahead and get his degree? So we'll see how that plays out. Another game that I thought was going to be interesting, really didn't turn out that way on the field, was that USC-Ohio State matchup.
Yeah, that had number 5 Ohio State taking on number 8 USC. It basically came down to USC and the turnovers that they had. Sam Darnold turned the ball over a lot early. He had an interception and a fumble. He just really didn't live up to, the hype that he had early in the year and coming into this season. So not really sure what's going to happen with him in the draft. I think, when is he, a junior?
He's a junior. A lot of the big boards have him as a top quarterback selection, maybe top overall pick, but he's been up and down all season. I mean, some games he shows flashes of brilliance. I mean, he had over 350 yards passing in this game.
Yeah,
But,
he's putting up yards.
Yeah, there's just fumbles and interceptions
Yeah.
that are timely. I don't know. I mean, I think he's pressing a lot with that pressure on him. He may not be a bad candidate to go ahead and come back and finish up his college career.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great idea for him to come back one more year and just try to, raise his draft stock a little bit. What did you see out of Ohio State and J.T. Barrett in this game?
I think they made an argument that they're probably one of the top teams in the nation. I think they may have even made a strong argument that they could have been in the Final Four teams for that playoff with this. Defense was dominant. J.T. Barrett did just enough. I mean, his passing game wasn't huge. He did something on the ground. But, Ohio State, that defensive line was very dominant. They was able to, really get some pressure on Darnold. Big difference in that one. Just a good win for Ohio State. I thought on paper this was going to be a good one. It just didn't happen.
All right, Josh, now two teams that were in that playoff race late in the season but kind of fell out. We had Wisconsin and Miami in the Capital One Orange Bowl.
Yeah, it was a Wisconsin team that they had a tough loss in the Big Ten championship game there that knocked them out of the playoffs. Miami, they were undefeated till about late in the season. They had that tough loss to Pittsburgh. But kind of that's the way that Miami's season ended there on 3 straight losses. It was a young team for Miami, very impressive start that they had to the season. Didn't finish out quite as strong as they wanted to. Ended up losing this game to Wisconsin 34 to 24. Pretty impressed with the quarterback there from Wisconsin.
Yeah, Alex Hornibrook, he had 4 touchdown passes, playing a heck of a game. Miami's quarterback, Malik Rozier, expected a little more out of him. He ended up turning the ball over 3 times, so that kind of hurt Miami. They had a lot of momentum early. Turnover chain was out a few times early. Thought we were going to see the Miami that we saw early in the year, the undefeated Miami. So they did get off to a fast start, but Wisconsin just kind of slow-tracked them down and wore them down over the entire course of that game.
Now, one guy that had a strong finish to his career was your man, Saquon Barkley, there at Penn State. They rolled in their bowl game.
Yeah, they rolled over the Washington Huskies. Saquon ended up with 137 yards on the ground. Strong finish to his career. Looking for him to go pretty early in this upcoming NFL draft.
Top-ranked running back there on a lot of the draft boards. So, I definitely think you'll probably see him coming off of there in the first 5, maybe first 10 picks, depending on some of the needs there for some of the teams.
Definitely.
And then when we jump over to New Year's Day, we've got UCF taking on Auburn. It was a good matchup. UCF, could they make a statement? And I think they did. They finished that season undefeated, knocking off an SEC team in Auburn. This was just a big win. Good way to see Scott Frost go out there in his tenure at UCF.
Definitely a great game. Just a battle the whole game. I think you saw that UCF team just kind of taking on the personality of Frost, just in their will to win and get that victory. Do you feel UFC beating Auburn confirmed they should have been in the playoffs this year?
I like the win, but I don't think they should have been in the playoffs. I've been a big UCF fan about midway through the season. Talked about how they've been undefeated. I really like that. I think they're a top 5 or top 6 team in the nation. I think they should finish the season ranked there. In the current playoff format that we have, I don't want to put them in. I mean, we've got a 4-team playoffs. I don't think they're any better than the 4 teams that are in there. But like if this was a beauty contest, I think they need to be getting a most photogenic or most congeniality award. I mean, there needs to be some acknowledgement to UCF on the season that they had.
I mean, I agree, but I do feel like they should have a shot to get in there. I mean, they are undefeated. They did beat an Auburn team that's already beat the 2 teams that we're looking at here in the championship game.
It does. It's a big win for them. I think this wasn't a big game for Auburn. They're kind of upset that they're not in the playoffs. So I don't think we saw the full force of Auburn in this game, but you can't take anything away from UCF. It's just a huge win for that program. Now, we look at these games that were on here. I think we had maybe the most entertaining game during the bowl season played on the New Year's Day.
Yeah, we're getting into that Georgia-Oklahoma game. I mean, that was that basically to me was the championship game. That one ended up 54-48, double overtime thriller. I mean, that was a heck of a game. Georgia ended up outlasting Oklahoma. Basically, what came down to who had the ball last there and who made the play with that nice running around the end there by the Georgia running back. One of the best runs in Georgia history.
Yeah, I think it definitely was an entertaining game, really fun to watch as a fan. I don't think there was a championship defense out there on the field. I mean, you can't give up 48 points and lose a game. I mean, that's bad for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You've got to, if my offense can put up 48 points, or if you was a Sooner fan and I told you you're going to go into that game against Georgia and you score 48 points, I think you think you're walking away with a victory in that one. So, I mean, that's kind of upsetting. I think I even texted you as the game was going on there when Oklahoma got the ball late in it. They had about a minute left. I said this could make Baker Mayfield a legend in college football if he was able to lead a drive there. A little bit of a letdown that he didn't really manufacture any points on that drive as well.
Yeah, but the Georgia defense, like I said, stepped up when they needed to. Even though both teams gave up a tremendous amount of points, the defense did step up when they needed to. They did have players on that defense that were making some big hits, third down plays, fourth down plays. I mean, they stepped up when they needed to, even though they gave up a lot of points.
They did, for sure. Now, another game that was just kind of entertaining as far as the ending goes on that one, the end of that Notre Dame LSU game, the Notre Dame receiver catches one-handed, breaks a couple tackles, and scores on that one.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive way to end a bowl game. That's kind of how you maybe dream it up when you're a kid.
Definitely a big win. Winning it with, like a minute and a half left. Nice one-handed catch. So, huge win. Huge win for Notre Dame.
Now, the other big playoff game that we had there was Alabama versus Clemson. Hyped up game. This was a rematch from last year's national championship game. I don't think the game, though, itself really lived up to the hype.
Yeah, after we watched that Georgia-Oklahoma game, it was kind of hard to, sit back and watch Alabama-Clemson. Like I said, the emotion involved and the momentum swings that we saw late in that Georgia-Oklahoma game just, basically overshadowed anything that could have happened in that Alabama-Clemson game. So it was almost like watching a varsity game and then going and watching an 8th grade game or JV game. So,
right.
Even though you're talking about Alabama-Clemson, it was pretty much a defensive struggle. Alabama's defense stifled that Clemson offense. It was really hard for Kelly Bryant and that offense to really do anything.
Yeah, it was definitely tough for Clemson this year. One thing that kind of stood out for me, and as I was watching this game, was how important Deshaun Watson was to this team last year. He was just a playmaker with his feet, which Kelly Bryant is as well. But the passing game, Watson was really able to be efficient, and he was able to give him some quick scores in that game last year. And Kelly Bryant just isn't quite there as a passer, so you sort of saw that in Alabama. They took advantage of it. You give Nick Saban a really long time to game plan on it, he's going to find your weaknesses, and they did it.
Yeah, Kelly Bryant, he's definitely just more of an athletic running type quarterback. A lot more design runs. Not really a pocket passer like Watson was. So just two different style quarterbacks, and it really showed up in that Alabama game.
That sets up the national championship there on Monday of next week. It's going to be January 8th. We've got two SEC teams. We've got Alabama taking on Georgia. I think these are some of the better teams. We kind of hinted earlier in some of the podcasts that this was going to be an extra playoff game, as we thought they were, or at least I thought they were going to meet in the SEC championship game, and maybe one team was left out. But now, the way that it played out, we was able to get them into the national championship game.
We got Georgia-Bama here, so I'm going to go with Georgia in this one, 26-24. You got any prediction on that one?
I've got Alabama winning it. I think they shut down the running game of Georgia. A freshman quarterback having to beat the Alabama defense, I just don't see that happening. I've got this one 28-14. Not really a close game.
So from just looking at this, Josh, we got two SEC teams here in this championship. Got one undefeated team that didn't make it in, and we've also got a team in Ohio State that pretty much dominated USC. So some teams on the outside looking in that a lot of people feel should have been in this playoff. Do we need to see the playoff field expanded?
That's a good question. The easy way to say is yes, but I really think right now, no. I think 4 teams is a good way to go. We've got 4 of the best teams that are in there. There's always going to be that 5th team that's on the edge looking out. if we go to 8 teams, there's always going to be a 9th and 10th place team that you could say should be able to get in there. Eventually, yes, I think it should be expanded out, but I think they have to take a hard look at the bowl games. That gets back to a question earlier in the show. Do we have too many bowl games? Yes, I think you need to weed out some of these insignificant bowl games, put in a new structure to where you've got 3 weeks for this to play out, and you don't dilute your product with a bunch of meaningless bowl games leading into it or playing during the playoffs. So if they can come up with a good system and figure that out, yes, but I don't think they should just say, hey, we need 8 teams in there and just go with that next year.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, but I mean, if we keep having these teams like UCF and other teams that are deserving to be in there, and they're beating some of the teams that are in this championship, I feel like we got to go ahead and get them in there. I mean, take away a regular season game at the end of the season. Take one of those away. Add another. What do we got? 4 teams now. Add 4 more. Use a couple of these other bowl games as another, playoff game like they're already doing. If you want to have so many bowl games, use them for something like a playoff.
I agree with you, but I mean, the way that this system played out right now, UCF isn't even in it. They were the number 12 ranked team. So, they didn't get up high enough to actually make a top 8 team according to the rankings the way that they are. So I don't know if it actually answers the questions that we have.
Yeah, but was UCF left down so low so that there wasn't a controversy? I mean, this is an undefeated team. You've got to rank them higher. Don't just keep them down low to avoid
hold on. Let's go back in the show. I was screaming they're an undefeated team. I'm an undefeated team. And what did you say? They haven't played anybody.
Yeah.
They didn't beat anybody.
That was before they beat Auburn, though.
But that happened during the bowl season. No. We wouldn't have known that.
You're right.
So, they can't get into the playoffs until you actually know what they've done.
But now we know that this team is capable of beating a
hindsight is 2020.
Yeah,
so going through the season, you dogged them for their weak schedule. You dogged them on that. So you can't flip now that they went out and beat an Auburn team that wasn't as inspired to play in this.
Next time we see this situation, we will know, okay, so what? They didn't have the toughest schedule, but, we still got to give them a chance just because
Boise State. Yeah. Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah. So
we knew that a small team could do this. They went out and shocked the world and beat Oklahoma a while back. So a smaller school can upset these big ones. It wasn't like we didn't expect this to happen, and we knew it could happen. It's just – there's always going to be a team that's left out. And really the way that this system was set out and the way that you were even looking at it going into it, UFC doesn't make the playoffs. But it was still a great college football season in 2018.
Good season.
Now, before we get away from college football, it's going to be the last time we want to talk about it. Are you going to throw in that bowl game win by your Seminoles?
Yeah, FSU Knowles got a victory, 42-13 over Southern Miss. Walk-Ons Independence Bowl. So, yeah, we can say a few words about that. James Blackman had a great game. He'll be back next season, so look for us to make a strong push to be in this playoff next year.
Your boy's taking over as the head coach now, so he's officially Taggart time, right?
Yeah, Willie Taggart's taking over down there, so new coach in place. Be a good battle in the offseason to see who's going to take that starting quarterback position, to see if Francois can regain his starting position or if Blackman's going to continue to hold it down.
All right, well, we'll see how that plays out. Let's go ahead and switch it over to the NFL now.
It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years. 40 years.
All right, Josh, NFL playoffs are set. Wild card round kicking off this weekend, January 6th and 7th. We've got the first game coming up Saturday, Tennessee Titans at the Kansas City Chiefs at 4:20 on ESPN. Who you like in this one?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one, giving them a little bit of an edge, home field advantage on that. I think their offense has a little bit more firepower in that one. I think they've got to Hunt the ball. He's going to be one of the keys in this game. They've got to really pound it with him. We need to see Alex Smith from the first 6 weeks of the season. And then they've got to be able to contain Mariota on this one. They're probably going to give up a little bit on the ground to those running backs from Tennessee. But when they have to go back and pass, they can't really let Mariota break containment against them.
All right, Josh, I hear you. I'm definitely go with the Titans on this one.
Okay, that'd be a little bit of an upset. I like that.
Yeah, so I just, obviously I feel Titans need to get that run game going with Derrick Henry, DeMarco Murray. two-headed monster they've got coming at you out of the backfield. Really establish that run game, take some pressure off of Mariota early. Mariota is great in the red zone, barely turns it over. Utilize Delaney Walker a lot when you get down there, great player in Delaney. Just really take the pressure off Mariota with that run game, and Mariota just let him rely on his legs when he needs to a little bit, get outside the pocket, run for some first downs, try to avoid the sacks. I think the Titans might have a chance. Just let that try to slow down the weapons that Alex Smith has back there.
Definitely going to be a good game, and I think, really both teams caught a break there. Weather looks like it's going to be halfway decent for Kansas City in January. In what I think is probably going to be the most entertaining game of all the 4 playoff games that we've got. Head out to the West Coast in L.A. We've got the Rams taking on the Falcons. Who you liking in this game?
I'm going to definitely go with the Falcons in this one, Josh. Falcons have been here before, so I definitely feel like they need to rely on their experience they've had recently here in the playoffs, of course, being in the Super Bowl last year. Just listen to the veterans they've got on the team, the coaches that have all been here before. Really just rely on Devontae Freeman early. Get him going on the run game just to open up play action for Julio Jones. Matt Ryan really works good out of play action. Falcons defense really needs to shut down Todd Gurley, as best they can, or at least slow him down, put a little more pressure on Goff. He's never been here before, so really, make him go out and beat you.
I like those points. I do like the fact that the Falcons have been playing for the last couple of weeks to get into the playoff, puts them in the playoff atmosphere early. They had to get that big win in Week 17 to secure their playoff spot. So I like that momentum that they've got going into the playoffs. But I'm going with this Rams team. I really like them. That offense is dynamic. My points are kind of the counterpoints to what you've got. They've got to get pressure on Matt Ryan. They can't let him stand back there in a clean pocket and try to find Julio. Right. If they do that, it's going to be a long day for the Rams. So that front of the Rams can put pressure on him. So I'd like to see that. And then you've just got to feed the ball to Gurley. You've got to get him involved early and often on the ground, running the ball and catching the ball. So I think that's when the Rams offense takes a lot of pressure off of Goff and just makes them one of the most high-powered offenses in there. So I've got the Rams winning this one.
All right, just one quick injury note in this game. Offensive guard for the Falcons, and Andy Levitre did injure his triceps in that last game. Looks like he's going to be out, so it's going to be up to Ben Garland to step up in this game. So that could be an injury that could affect this game. Offensive guard, pretty key piece in that line. So we'll see if that plays a factor in this game. Moving on to Sunday, we're going to start that one off with the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Buffalo Bills. That one's going to be down in Jacksonville at 1 o'clock, CBS on Sunday. So it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, those have been two teams that we haven't seen in the playoffs for a while. They've both been in a drought. The Bills had to press a little bit in the season to get into there, made a little late run. Needed a little bit of help in that one. The Bengals helped them out quite a bit. But, I think they may have took a key loss in that one. They need a healthy LaShawn McCoy to have a chance against the Jaguars. Definitely. Right now, he's a game-time decision. So if he's not able to go, that's going to be a huge loss for them.
Big loss.
And then the Bills, they just can't beat themselves. The Jaguars, that defense is tenacious. They rely on getting a lot of turnovers. They score points off of those turnovers, and they get short fields for Blake Bortles. So, if they're turning the ball over to the Jags, that's going to be a long night there for the Bills. I kind of like the Bills a little bit, but I'm still going to lean towards the Jaguars in this game for the win.
All right, Josh, well, I got to agree with you on that one. I'm going Jags on this one too. They definitely got to get Blake Bortles protection in this game. He doesn't need any extra added pressure around him. He needs to protect the ball, make good decisions. Get up to the line of scrimmage, evaluate, see what's going on, make the right calls there. Of course, with the Jags having the league's leading rushing offense, they got to get Fournette going early, which once again is going to take that pressure off of Bortles and just, run the rock and throw it when they need to.
That's what they've been doing all year.
Yeah. Defensively, that D-line needs to get after Tyrod. Force him into some mistakes. Tyrod will turn the ball over. He has kind of had an up and down season. So the corners on the Jaguars really good at man-to-man locking up.
Some of the best in the league right now.
Yep. So they just need to utilize their strengths on defense, and I think they'll be all right in this game.
Another game that you like, I know it seems like there's a lot of NFC South teams in the playoffs here, but we've got the Panthers taking on the Saints down there in New Orleans. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I mean, these two teams know each other really well. I mean, they see each other twice a year.
Yep.
They'll be seeing each other now for the third time this year. Of course, offensively, Panthers need to get Cam Newton involved early. Cam does tend to kind of disappear early in games sometimes, and it takes him a while to get going. So I think they need to get him on some design runs early, get him some easy completions early, just get him involved early. Also, I think they need to use Christian McCaffrey early, get him some passes out of the backfield, let him run the ball, just use him however they can. They seem to be, pretty effective scoring the ball when they get him involved and get him a lot of touches. Defensively, they just need to keep pressure in Breeze's face. Don't just let him sit back here in the pocket and do what he wants to do.
He'll hurt you too bad.
Yeah, so you give Breeze, we all know, a little bit of time, and he's going to sit back there and just pick you apart. So definitely need to get pressure on him. So that get Cam involved early, utilize McCaffrey, and I think they'll be okay.
Okay, so you're taking the Panthers in this game?
I'm definitely taking the Panthers in this game.
All right. I respect your pick there. And I think it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. That's the old cliche, right?
Yeah.
But I got the Saints doing it still. I mean, I think they just have too many weapons right now. They've got Kamara, Ingram, Thomas. I mean, they're really rolling good right now. Yeah, I've got a couple keys there. They definitely beat them twice in the season. They forced bad Cam to show up. That first game, I think Cam had 3 interceptions. If they can bring that out, and that defense is good enough this year to bring that out, the bad Cam, they're going to be able to beat him. Now, if good Cam shows up, it could be a different story. Good Cam is a top 5 quarterback.
Good Cam's like Superman.
Yeah, I mean he's almost indestructible. But so far, the Saints have had his kryptonite on the season, and I think that's going to continue in the playoffs. But those 2 NFC games, especially, I think are going to be some exciting football to watch there in the playoffs.
Definitely some good matchups coming up this weekend, so got some good football ahead of us.
Trav, I can't let it go by now. I think you've got to be happy going into the offseason with your 49ers and the play of one Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, Jimmy G and the Niners did finish up strong with 5 straight wins. I mean, what kind of better way could we have finished up after the start we had to the season? So definitely got to give a round of applause to the Patriots for letting us get that guy for a second-round pick. We appreciate that.
A lot of people are saying that the 49ers pulled one over there on the Patriots. I don't know if I quite see it that way. I think the Patriots knew that they weren't going to be able to re-sign him. I don't know what other offers that they had out there for him.
I think the Cleveland Browns had wanted him.
Oh, really?
Had been calling all season, but obviously Belichick's not going to give him to the Browns after after they fired him. So
a little bit of resentment there on that one.
Yeah. So but Jimmy G. I mean, this is our franchise quarterback now. I mean, we can stop the search. We can stop the search.
Stop the presses.
Yeah.
Put the headline on there. We've got our franchise quarterback.
Yeah. Go ahead and send Kirk Cousins an email. Tell him we won't be needing his services next year. So definitely getting high praise out of the front office. John Lynch, of course, Shanahan. Really impressed with him. Got to learn his new quarterback over those last 5 games. Figured out kind of what he likes to do, throws he likes to make and whatnot. So they're forming a nice little bond there. So I mean, I haven't seen a guy like this in San Fran in a while. I don't want to, I don't want to go.
Is he Joe Montana?
I mean, he's got attributes.
Is he Steve Young?
He's got attributes.
You're wanting to say it, aren't you? You're really wanting to say he's the next coming of.
Well, I mean, he's got attributes of all those guys you just mentioned. So, I mean, he's got the quick release.
Okay.
He's got the the good footwork. He can release the ball from any angle. Smart guy.
Okay.
Can make the reads at the line of scrimmage. Can get you in the right play. He's got all the attributes of a Super Bowl winning quarterback. of a franchise quarterback.
So you're okay with the 49ers throwing big money at him
Yeah.
after a small sample as they've got?
Yeah, let's go ahead and pay him. Let's keep him. Let's lock him in, and which that's what they're going to do. John Lynch has already stated he wants to keep Jimmy G around for a long time. So he's definitely not going anywhere. Like I said, we haven't seen a guy like this in San Fran in a while. We haven't seen a guy like this in the NFL in a while. I mean, you got to watch this guy. You got to watch him play.
I like the brashness of it. I like you making that. I mean, it seems like you can either have the next Joe Montana or you're going to have the next Matt Flynn. I mean, he's got a small sample size.
So he could be the highest paid, NFL player in history off of just a 7-game.
That blows my mind.
7-game resume.
That blows my mind if they throw that money at him like that. Yeah. I think Kirk Cousins is probably going to get paid also in the offseason. But, I mean, you could see Jimmy G walking away with a payday.
Oh, yeah. So look out for the Niners and Jimmy G next year. It's going to be a great year in San Fran. It's going to be a great year for Niner fans everywhere. Speaking of great quarterbacks, we'll get into a little bit of MVP talk here. There's a couple of names being thrown around for MVP, a couple of quarterbacks, a couple of running backs. Now that the regular season's over, who are you looking at as your MVP for the NFL this year?
So you think that only quarterbacks can get the MVP?
I didn't say that.
There's a guy that's out there on the West Coast for the Rams, a resurrection of the Rams this year. And I think we owe it to one guy, Todd Gurley. Give him that trophy right now. 2,093 total yards from scrimmage this year, 19 touchdowns, 1,305 yards rushing, and he set out Week 7. He would have been your league's leading rusher if he had played in Week 17, but he decided not to rest up for the playoffs. This dude took the Rams from worst last year in scoring offense to first this year in scoring offense. And I think it's clearly on the rebirth of Todd Gurley and this high-powered Rams offense. Give him that trophy.
No, can't do it.
No.
I'll tell you why. There's a lot of other running backs out here in the league, Josh, not just Todd Gurley. What about Le'Veon Bell? I mean, this guy was third in rushing. What about Hunt? Hunt led the league with rushing.
What's the record of the Chiefs?
Hunt led the league in rushing over 1,300 yards. And I know it does come down to record, but it is the MVP. Who's the most valuable player on the team? Le'Veon Bell, if you're going to go with the running back, I mean, he was a lot more valuable than Todd Gurley. How many fumbles did Todd Gurley have?
I don't know. I don't have his fumbles.
He had a lot. Gurley led the league in fumbles. Would a quarterback win the MVP if he led the league in interceptions?
Maybe, if it's a Manning.
So, I mean, I don't know. So, I mean,
I
don't know if a guy that leads
All right, so you want to give this award to a quarterback. Go ahead. Give it to a quarterback.
I mean, let's go ahead and give this trophy to the 40-year-old guy, Tom Brady, that just is the greatest overall value to his team.
A system quarterback. You're giving it to a system quarterback.
He's the greatest overall value to his team. He is the league leader in passing, 4,500 yards, over 4,500 yards. Third in touchdowns with 32. Third passer rating in the league with 102.8. I mean, go ahead and give him his third MVP right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
No. I think if you take Brady off of that team, you fill it in with another Matt Castle type quarterback, they're going to have about the same record. We've seen this happen before when Brady goes down in the season. You know, he's a system quarterback. You just plug him in there. He's like any player for New England. Just find another one and plug him in there.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying, but, I mean, this guy's doing it without his number one guy, Edelman. He didn't have him all year, and at times this year he was without Gronk.
Okay.
I mean, he's making average players great players. He's still getting his yards. Doesn't matter who he's throwing to. We've said that, I've said that in earlier podcasts. It doesn't matter who Brady throws to. He's just going to get completions. He's just going to get touchdowns. He's just going to get wins. He's just going to lead his team. Give this man the MVP, his third MVP trophy.
Okay, let me make one more point. I think this is what pushes Todd Gurley over the hill. He's a genius. Last year, he had a bad year. He was able to get Jeff Fisher fired. You know your record's not going to be any better than 8-8 with Jeff Fisher as your coach.
Did he get him fired or did Eric Dickerson get him fired?
Maybe both there. So they're able to bring in this smart, young, offensive-minded head coach now, and I think we got to give Todd Gurley a lot of credit for that. But I see what you're saying, man. Brady's had a great year, too. It's going to be interesting to see how the voters go on this one.
Gurley's had a good year.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I think it's really been a good year for both of those. And, gosh, as an Eagle fan, I think Wentz was really in it there until he had his injury. I'd like to seen him being able to finish out this season and see where he fell in the
he only missed 3 games. I mean, there was a guy named Joe Montana that won the MVP and missed 3 games.
Yeah, it's just the last 3 games of the season, and he's not going to be going into the playoffs. We'll see how I think he'll probably finish in the top 5, but I think he missed out on a chance for an MVP there. Now, a guy that's really been known for the guru of quarterbacks. He has a quarterback camp. He may be coming back to coach there. Can you believe Gruden's coming out of the booth and taking the Oakland Raiders job maybe?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to believe Gruden coming back to the league when he's been on TV for 9 years now up in the booth, something like that. So, I mean, if you want to see anybody come back to coaching, you got to want to see Gruden come back. I mean, he's like the Madden of the 2000s. Let's get him out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good quarterback at Oakland. I think Carr's a really good quarterback. You get Gruden in there working with him. Maybe he brings him up. I think Carr had a little bit of a down year this year, especially off of some of the expectations and the contract that he signed. I did see where Gruden told a radio station today that he hopes he's in consideration for this job. So, I mean, at least to me, that sounds like there is some talk on that.
Yeah, and I think they're talking about giving him some ownership in the team.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never heard anything like that before. So definitely be a first. And you also got to look at who's reporting the story. It's coming out of ESPN. I think this is his current employee. If this wasn't true, I think he would be getting up with them and saying, "Hey, that's not the truth, guys." So there's really not been any deflection on there. So I think there is a little bit of smoke with this one. Another guy that was I thought gone. A lot of the media reported he's gone. I think he said he was stepping down. He was able to come back and just got re-signed to a 2-year extension.
Yeah, Marv's coming back for his 16th year.
16th and 17th, 2-year extension.
16 and 17. Crazy. So it's hard to believe after 15 years of not winning a whole lot of games. Well, I won't say a whole lot of games, a whole lot of postseason games.
Yeah.
So 7 postseasons with no wins.
That's tough.
They're going to re-sign him. So I think Cincinnati fans are really not happy with this from what I've been hearing coming out of Cincy. I think they were ready for change. This is the second longest tenured coach behind Bill Belichick. So we obviously know that Belichick has won multiple Super Bowls, but Marvin just not won much. But they're giving him some more time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what you think you're going to get out of Marvin Lewis. You know what you're getting out of him. He's a 500 coach, and he's got 0 wins out of 7 playoff appearances. So, I mean, all signs pointed to me it's time to make a change within the organization, a little complacent. They definitely went down this year from what they have in some of the previous years. But I don't know. I guess he's a good guy. The locker room really liked him. So we'll see what the Bengals do with their pick. You got to thank God for the Cleveland Browns if you're in the state of Ohio because they make you look good.
Definitely. So, Marv's coming back. Another coach that's, a coach that is out after 3 straight losing seasons is John Fox up in Chicago.
Yeah, I think that writing was on the wall about midway through the season.
Yeah, so Foxy's out. I'm sure he'll find a gig somewhere.
Yeah, defensive coordinator, something somewhere. He'll be back to working.
A few other coaches that are out. You got Bruce Arians out in Arizona. I think he's going to go ahead and retire. He's wanting to spend some time with his family.
Yeah. I mean, I liked Arians. He was a good coach, fiery coach, players coach. But he is stepping down on that one. Got to respect him if he, just sees it as his time. It takes a lot to be an NFL coach.
Yeah, so I think there was a little bit of question the last time he came back. Did he want to come back or not, So I think his wife kind of pushed him to go ahead and give it one more shot. So I think this time he's decided to go ahead and come home, spend some time with the family.
I heard his name thrown in there as a replacement for Gruden on Monday Night Football if he was to leave out of there. He could be interesting on the air. Sitting back with his hat backwards.
Yeah, some nice hat wear.
Yeah. smoking a cigar, drinking a little bourbon. Lions, they lost their coach as well. It looks like they're going to be in the hunt for that. It's going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks, see how it plays out. There's going to be some big name candidates on playoff teams, so it's going to be a good 2 months before some of these positions are filled. I guess in some player news, there was one player that retired this week, Carson Palmer. He's going to go ahead and retire.
Yeah, Carson's out. Good career, solid career, 15 seasons. Broke some passing records. Got up in the top 5, I think, in career.
Yeah, I think
passing yards somewhere in there.
Respectable career.
Yeah, one name I am hearing floating around to replace him is the guy over at Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield coming into Arizona, replacing him.
Could be interesting.
So looks, just looking at it, looks like a decent fit.
Carson Palmer, he was a Heisman candidate, and he actually won the Heisman, I think, there at USC. So I mean,
he did.
A lot of times you talk about Heisman players and not having good NFL careers. I think Carson Palmer is one of those that maybe broke the mold on that. I don't know. Maybe if they get Baker Mayfield in there, he's another Heisman winner that has a good NFL career.
Might have a few years left to throw the fits out there.
Yep.
Make the ground shake.
All right, Josh, we got Week 17 power rankings in the NFL. So just a little change in the power rankings this week. We're going to rank these teams from 5 to 1 as having the best chance to reach the Super Bowl. So why don't you go ahead and start it off?
Yeah, I'm going to put number 5 there, the Saints. High-powered offense, lots of weapons, much improved defense this year. They finished the season up 11-5. I think they have a good shot there with the Philadelphia Eagles having the injury. So we'll have to see if they're able to take advantage of that. Plus, they're playing in the Dome. I think they get a little break from the weather. They have a really good record at home. So I think they're able to sneak by at least in the first round and have a chance to get into the Super Bowl. Another team there in the NFC, I've got the Vikings, 13-3 record. Defense is looking really good. They've got a quarterback that hasn't been proven in the playoffs. They've got a running back that's starting to get some momentum, some strong wide receivers. I think the Vikings, good chance on that one. Put the Eagles in there at number 3, home field advantage going through there. I think Foles is going to be able to do enough to carry them through and get them to the Super Bowl in the NFC. Defense has scared me a little bit there. They gave up a lot of passing yards to Eli Manning. I hope that isn't the defense that we see in the playoffs. Number 2, I've got the Steelers, 13-3 record. I think they're going to battle it out with my number 1 team here, the Patriots. I think they'll be in the AFC Championship game. Yeah, that's just, I think those are probably the 2 best teams in the NFL right now. They're just in the same conference. But I've got the Steelers at 2 and Patriots at number 1. Trav, how about you? What's your top 5 looking like?
A little similar to yours. I got number 5. I've got the Saints as well.
Okay.
Finished up 11-5. Good thing with the Saints, they do have some experience in the playoffs. Of course, they've got Drew Brees at quarterback, so that's going to always be good for you in the playoffs. At number 4, I got the Rams. They also finished up 11-5. A little bit of inexperience at quarterback in the playoffs, obviously, with Goff, but I feel like they do have a winnable game coming up here. So we'll see what happens with them. I feel like they can get past the Falcons. At number 3, Minnesota. Case Keenum's balling out. They do have the best defense in the league. And obviously, defense does win championships. So I feel they can go deep into the playoffs.
All right.
At number 2, got the Steelers. Of course, really good road record this year at 7-1. We all know the multiple weapons they've got on offense. Still a really strong defense. Probably a key factor in that is Antonio Bryant going to be healthy. He tore his calf muscle, so I'm not really sure how good he's running now, or will he be able to get back to full strength in the playoffs here. And, of course, at number 1, the New England Patriots, most playoff experience. Of course, their track record's proven in the playoffs. 5 Lombardi trophies, 4 Super Bowl MVP awards by Brady. So, got to go with the Patriots as having the best odds to win this thing again. Now, I did, as you did notice, I did leave out your Eagles.
I did notice that.
Tough Week 17 loss to the Cowboys and limited time by Foles. I'm not sure if this hurt his confidence a little bit heading into the playoffs. It's just not how you want to really go into the playoffs, losing to the Cowboys like that. So definitely, I feel like Foles is going to have to play mistake-free football if the Eagles want to win.
I agree with you. I mean, I think there's a lot of questions around the Eagles right now. They're the number one seed, and I don't know of a number one seed that's ever had as many questions around them as they do. But I got to believe in Foles. I've got to at least expect him to take us to the NFC Championship game. So, I'm going to ride with Foles on that.
All right.
So we finished up the season, and the NFL regular season is over with. Looking back at these standings here, any teams kind of surprised you as to where they did, whether they overperformed or underperformed?
Just from looking at the standings, you got to look at Seattle not making the playoffs. Really a big surprise. I mean, they had to be favorites, early in the season. Even if they didn't win the division, to still get in as a wild card. But this will be the first time they haven't made the playoffs since like 2011.
Oh my gosh, they've been a staple there in the playoffs.
Yeah, so definitely going. I won't miss seeing them, but definitely I think the loss of Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas not being healthy, I think that really hurt them. Russell tried to carry him, but he can only do so much. One other thing that stands out to me is the three teams in the NFC South that we've got going into the playoffs: New Orleans, the Panthers, the Falcons. All teams here familiar with each other, so it's going to be interesting there to see how all that plays out as well.
Yeah, definitely heavy in the AFC South or the NFC South.
Definitely. So, was there anything that stood out to you as far as the way the standings finished up?
I guess some underperformers there. The AFC West, Oakland and Denver both. Oakland Raiders finished up the season 6-10. Broncos were even worse there at 5-11. I thought the Broncos defense at least would be able to get them to 9-10 wins.
Definitely a surprise.
Yeah, this just didn't get any quarterback play this year. I think they've got a huge question mark at quarterback. The Raiders, that offense kind of slid backwards. I thought with the addition of Marshawn Lynch, they would be a little bit more explosive on that one. Cooper seemed to take a step back this year as to what he had last year. I'm hearing reports come out now that the Raiders are going to release Crabtree at the end of the season there. So we're going to see a little bit of transition there with the Raiders. And then one team that overperformed, 5 wins for the Jets. I think if you go back to our first or second podcast that we ever did, we were questioning if they were going to get a win this year. We were putting Sam Darnold.
Didn't have a quarterback.
That's the number one pick that they're going to be able to get. But, they got 5 wins this season. They were in a lot of games. They lost a lot of close games. So the Jets, no joke, I think they've got a bright future going in there. I think they've got a really good head coach. So they definitely surprised me with overachieving.
I wouldn't take it too far about the Jets. No. I wouldn't take it that far. I don't know about a bright future.
All right. I'll let you go that way. You're giving about $200 million to a quarterback at start at 5 games for you.
7 overall.
All right, Trav, we went really heavy this show on football. I guess we really have to with the playoffs and the way that the ball games were breaking down in college football. But the NBA, there were some big stories that came out of it. Even today, we saw Isaiah Thomas come back for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, he came back today. I think he got teed up, too.
Oh, did he get fired up a little bit there?
Yeah, he got teed up on a call there.
I saw a quick stat line on there. He had 19 minutes and 17 points. So, that was pretty efficient scoring that he was able to do. Also, the Trailblazers, they had their point guard returned after 5 games. Looks like Dame Lillard's back for them. It's good to see these stars healthy and back in the game. Rockets, though, they're not so fortunate. They lost their star player. James Harden goes out 2 weeks with a hamstring injury. That's going to be a huge loss for them.
Yeah, tough loss. Anytime you lose James Harden, he's a glue on that team. Obviously, leading scorer, going to get you assists every game. So they're going to definitely miss him.
Yeah, you look down that roster and you just kind of question where the points are going to be able to come from. There's really not that, explosive score that they've got. So they may be in a little bit of a rut for the next 2 weeks there. And then one other injury that was in the NBA. I don't know if you know this name, but Ron Baker. He's going to be out for a orbital fracture. This happened after he went up to try to block a dunk from Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was an unnecessary attempt at blocking a dunk from a what is he, 6'10", 6'11"?
Yeah, almost 7 foot there. He
tall
can
guy.
fly. So yeah, I don't know what he was thinking when he elevated on that, and Davis took it to another level and then broke the guy's eye. And one guy that we just have to always talk about when it comes basketball time, that's the balls. And they've got some news that they're going to have maybe a league coming out here. It's going to be an alternate for going to college. Did you catch any of this?
Yeah, I guess LeVar Ball's wanting to start up an alternative league for kids that don't want to go to college or don't make it into college. Not really sure how this is going to work or how he's going to be able to fund this. He's talking about paying the minimum players in the league around $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
With the highest paid player making up to $10,000 a month. I mean, that's more than players in the G League make.
I know, and like you said, I mean, I question where are they going to be able to come up with these funds? It's going to be pretty expensive on there. I mean, if they get some big sponsorships lined out, I guess it could happen, but I don't know. I think he's talking a good game and maybe trying to give a good option for his boy Melo, just so he doesn't have to go overseas here for the next couple years. But I don't know. I just don't see a way that this could be a success.
LaMelo's still going to Lithuania.
He is?
Yeah.
Okay. So is Melo going with him?
No, right now it's just LiAngelo. It's supposed to be rolling out one day, I think next week.
Okay. I saw that team over there in Lithuania had the jerseys for sale. They're trying to capitalize on the ball craze on that. So this is going to be interesting. So is Big Daddy going over there with him?
Yeah, the article I read didn't really say, they don't really know if he's going over yet or not, but at least one of the Ball brothers is headed out to get some more professional action.
I don't know if it could have got any better than it was this Saturday in college basketball. Some of the most exciting action that I've seen. Saturday really started off with number 1 Villanova getting upset by Butler. A really good game there. Villanova's got a strong team, but that upset, that was almost March Madness like, seeing a big win like that.
Yeah, that was a really great game. Butler stopping number 1 Villanova. Good Big East matchup early in the year. Butler, I think, banged out a bunch of threes in that game to hold on for the win.
Yeah, your boys, FSU, they had a classic game that they played against Duke. Marvin Bagley III, he came out and balled out in that game. 32 points, 21 rebounds. He's a freshman, and he really wasn't. He was supposed to be in this class. He enrolled early at Duke. I mean, that is impressive for a freshman to be putting up a stat line like that.
Yeah, definitely a nice game by Bagley. Florida State forward Phil Coffer had a decent game. He put in 28 points.
Yeah, it's a good game for them. That was a close game, too. I mean, it looks like FSU is going to be for real in the ACC this year. Another freshman didn't want to be outdone by Marvin Bagley. That was Trae Young out at Oklahoma. He put up 39 points, 14 assists, and that was Oklahoma taking down TCU, handing them the first loss on the season.
Yeah, Oklahoma beat them 90-89. Definitely a close game, but Trae Young, 39. I think he hit some free throws with a few seconds left to get them that win.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody in college basketball. I mean, jog my memory if you think of anybody, but that's scoring 20, 30 points a game and then handing out 10-plus assists. I mean, this is definitely impressive to see somebody being this efficient on offense.
Oh, yeah, and we knew about this kid earlier in the year. He was coming out of high school, Oklahoma's number 1, rated player coming out. So the talent's there, and he's, showing it. So it's good to see.
That's for sure. And then, just on that Saturday, we kind of put the cherry on the top. We had undefeated Arizona State. They got upset by Arizona, so we have no more undefeated teams left in college basketball. You want to take a quick look at the top 10 in the rankings?
Yeah, AP top 25 rankings. You got Michigan State 14-1, sitting at number 1. Duke Blue Devils at number 2. Villanova number 3. Arizona State 4. And Xavier 5.
It's a pretty good top 5 there that they've got going on. It's probably going to change. I think each week of the poll there, we've had a new number 1 team so far in the season. Like I said, conference basketball is kicking off. It's going to be an exciting time on that. So you can't miss those games. If you miss those games, you're going to be a big dummy. And we probably have to put you in this segment. This week is really strong with big dummies. They were out in full effect. So let's go ahead and get into that.
You big dummy, you big dummy, you big cold-blooded dummy.
right, Josh, we got to give our first Big Dummy Award to the referee that kicked out Benny Snell Jr. During the Kentucky and Villanova football game.
Music City Bowl.
Yeah, so Benny Snell Jr. was kicked out for putting his hands on a referee that was trying to assist him up off the ground. So didn't really see anything worth kicking him out in this. Basically, he was trying to get up off the ground. The referee tried to help him a little bit, and he just refused his help. Kind of moved his hands away from him, moved his arms away, and the ref kicked him out.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, the ref really initiated the contact on this one. I don't think Snell really did anything on his own. That's tough.
we got to definitely give this ref a Big Dummy of the Week award.
You big dummy.
Next Big Dummy of the Week, we got a couple players that had some uniform malfunctions here, and I think it was mostly due to the cold weather.
Playing tricks on him, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we had the Eagles punter forgot to take off his sweatpants before running onto the field. I guess the cold weather had really got to him. And then looks like Bryce Petty, quarterback for the New York Jets, tried to put his helmet on over his toboggan.
Yeah, he's been on the bench all year long and filling in for this game, so he might not be used to putting his helmet on.
Yeah, so cameras caught him trying to put his helmet on over his toboggan. Then he finally realized it and took his toboggan off and was able to get his helmet on. So we got to give these guys some Big Dummy of the Week awards for their uniform malfunctions here.
You big dummy.
And the last Big Dummy of the Week we're going to give out here, is pretty deserving. This team has won a total of one game in the last 2 years.
Oh, my gosh.
So valiant effort to get that last win against the Steelers. Several opportunities to get that win. It actually came down to a pass on fourth down. It could have got him a first down to get him in the field goal range to get that win.
Couldn't make that catch for Hugh Jackson, could he?
Nope, just couldn't do it. So we got to give the Cleveland Browns a Big Dummy award for just going 0-16.
You big dummy.
All right, Trav, it was great to be back in the studio, getting 2018 started out. A lot of sports action going on. I mean, this is some of the best time of the year with football for sure. Looking ahead next week, we're going to be able to recap that national championship game. We'll be able to get into the playoffs a little bit more, recap that first round, kind of spotlight a few of the matchups that's going to happen in the second round of the playoff. And I know you're going to want to do this. We may even talk a little baseball. Some of the Hall of Fame votes are going to be coming in. I'll let you maybe even cast your own ballot to see who you would be putting into the Hall of Fame this year.
All right, man. Sounds good. All right, man. So, we definitely got good action coming up on the next show for you guys. This is going to pretty much wrap up this episode. Let's go ahead and get out of here, Josh.
All right.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please help us out with a subscribe on your favorite platform.
To find all listening services and social media accounts to follow, check out our website, ifitsports.com. Select the Listen to podcast link from the top menu. And remember, if it's sports,
we're talking about it.